Hello and welcome to the program Now Europe. Today we are joined by the MEP Daniel Freund from the Greens. How could you comment on the court ruling in respect of Marine Le Pen's and her team's embezzlement of European Parliament's funds?
It's the biggest fraud scandal that we have ever seen in the history of the European Parliament. 4.6 million euros embezzled. It's good that there now is a sentence with a punishment that fits the crime. It has taken some time. The actual fraud is more than 10 years ago, so it took the French justice quite some time to get to this point. But it's good to see now that at the end there is justice now for these crimes.
There might be accusations that the decision of the court is politicized and it's related to the potential presidential candidate. And how not to look at the ruling in this way?
I see no indication whatsoever for a political decision. Actually, quite the opposite. It seems that lots of politicians want a political decision, and that somehow Marine Le Pen is judged differently because she is a politician, because she wants to be a candidate for the presidential elections. But the law applies to everyone equally. The law applies irrespective of polls or political ambition. So I actually think, that this ruling, rather to the contrary, shows that the rule of law and that the justice system in France works independently of political considerations.
And what do you think about the fact that the European People's Party doesn't want a debate on it, nor to comment on the ruling? They are a political party. Why do you think it is so?
I mean, some colleagues have argued, that we don't have to discuss the court ruling directly after it has happened. I think for me, the debate that I suggested was not so much about the court ruling, but was sort of the lessons we draw from such a massive fraud case. How can we make sure in the parliament, that no party, no politician basically just uses the European Parliament as a money machine, as an ATM for their projects that have nothing to do with European politics, and how to improve sort of the anti-fraud system in the European Parliament, but more broadly in the European Union. I think that would have warranted a debate. Colleagues decided otherwise. I still think that's a debate that we need to have.
Sure. And now I'd like, within the same context, to ask you about the MEPs. I'm talking to many members of the parliament, and some of them are overtly honest in admitting that, for example, it's no mystery that I am focusing on my internal career, internal politics of my country, not on the European Parliament job, and that European Parliament job, if you choose it, is a half-time or less-time job, that if you want, you can work a lot, but many choose not to. So I know it's not an embezzlement, but certainly it's not a step in the right direction as regards the European Union fund. How would you comment on that?
For me, definitely, this is more than a full-time job. It's a privilege that voters have given me this mandate for a period of time to defend their interests, their wishes, and fight for a better, greener Europe. Right? If colleagues see that differently, as members, we're free. Right, we have a free mandate. We can set the priorities how we like. it's then up to voters to decide if such members that actually do not show up here, that actually do not do what they promised during the election campaign, it's up to voters to not re-elect them. Right? There's plenty of transparency. You can see which members actually did their job and did anything here in the parliament and who did not. Mm-hmm. Where it becomes very problematic is when members are free to do what they want, but they're not free to misuse the parliament's resources. They're not free to fraud or embezzle with the money that is available for parliamentary work, not for party work, not for anything else. And that concerns the staff, that concerns the allowances. So on those, members are not free. And the Parisian court has made that very clear, I think.
Okay, you offered us in your answer a bridge to another topic that I wanted to discuss with you. You mentioned that you work for the better and greener Europe, and I would like to focus on the greener Europe part because I discussed with some MEPs from European People's Party. And actually, what I heard was shocking to me that they were mentioning green policies of the European Union, including the ETS2, as the biggest threat to the European Union integration. What's your take on that? And generally, how do you see the present approach of the European Commission towards the decarbonization initiatives and the competitiveness files?
So, I don't think it's a secret to anyone that climate change is among the biggest threats to us in Europe. We have just in the last couple of months seen floods, forest fire, droughts. The climate is getting more extreme, and not just at the other side of the planet, but right here in Europe. So citizens see that. It's the destruction and the damages that this causes are skyrocketing. So this is here and now costing us a lot of money. At the same time, we see, if you look, for example, at the car industry, European car makers used to dominate car sales in the biggest market on the planet, in China, for example, for decades. And now we're losing out because Chinese consumers are switching to electric vehicles where, we have fallen behind for too long. We have not invested. We have not been serious about electric vehicles. And we actually see that in lots of other technologies that sort of are part of the green future, be it renewable energies, be it heat pumps, be it electric vehicles, batteries, all these, we see that we're falling behind. So if we want to be competitive on any of the future technologies, and the same actually applies to digital, to artificial intelligence, there as well, we're falling behind the US and China. So if we want to be competitive, we need to be on these future technologies, particularly green technologies. So for me, what we're doing with the Green Deal doesn't only make sense in terms of shielding us from the worst effects of climate change. It's also a question of where do we make money in the future? Are our industries still competitive? So all those that say, this is a threat for our competitiveness, I think they have it exactly the wrong way around.
Okay, so we can indeed probably agree, and there is a consensus in the scientific circles about the climate change and the warming of our planet and all these phenomena that you were mentioning, floods, fires, droughts, and so on. However, does this aim justifies all means, meaning this ETS2 that I have a feeling that has become a scapegoat goal of all the skeptics to decarbonization policies?
Does climate change justify everything? No. Obviously, we should have a democratic debate of what's the right path to climate neutrality? How exactly do you get there? This is obviously up for debate. But I think putting a price on carbon emissions seems to be generally a principle that is broadly agreed. It's just then in the moment when you put that price, then some in a way get cold feet. What for me is absolutely crucial in that, and what so far we haven't managed to do at the European level is, we're collecting this money through the emissions trading, but then it's not the European Union giving it back to citizens. But actually, for me, the ideal combo is basically you put a price on carbon, and then you pay this money that you collect back to every citizen in the EU equally. So that basically those that have a low footprint, they might even get more money out of this than they sort of pay at the pump or when they pay their gas bill for the CO2 emissions. But those biggest polluters, those that fly their private jets around the world, those that live in massive mansions, they then pay their fair share. And this incentivizes everyone over the next 2 decades, roughly, basically to move to climate neutrality. I think that this is a good system, and we just have to make sure that it works for everyone.
Do you have a feeling that your rational approach finds understanding and allies and consensus within the European Union?
I mean, obviously, there are lots of politicians that don't work with rational arguments. They work with emotions, sometimes lies and disinformation. That's something we have to deal with, but it doesn't. I'm not going to stop being rational just because others are.
Can you finally tell me what do you think about the competitiveness compass, about Clean Industrial Deal, about omnibus packages? Do you think they will really make European competitiveness present?
Well, I think in the proposals that we see right now, there are certainly things that we do not like as Greens. We don't want to sort of reduce our climate and environment ambitions. Wherever there is bureaucracy that's unnecessary, we're obviously open to reduce that. We're now sitting in the negotiations with the other political groups in the European Parliament, and we're going to try to make a deal that's good for Europe in the end.
Okay, thank you so much for this talk.
Thanks, bye.